Welcome to the Filmistines, the Double Feature podcast. Join us as we unravel the interwoven experience of the continuous conversation of cinema. Take part in pairing movies with their cursed counterparts, movies that share DNA, or even pairing questionable duos by joining our Patreon at patreon.com/Filmistines. We offer tiers at the $1, $5, and $20 level, where the $5 tier will grant the ability to request films to further the discussion. So grab some popcorn, sit back, and get ready to join the 100-year conversation. This is the Filmistines, where movies are more than just entertainment, they're an experience.
They're an experience.
All around you. And welcome back to another episode of the Filmistines. Thank you guys for joining us today. Today I am joined by my forgetful friend, Lucy.
Who?
Remember, you can join us every Monday and Friday for brand new episodes of the Filmistines, and every other Wednesday on patreon.com/Filmistines for Patreon exclusive episodes, like our recent Saw episode where we ranked and discussed each entry at length. Some other recent episodes, they include Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, Back to the Future, Forrest Gump, and M. Night Shyamalan's new film, Trap. Remember to leave nice comments, thoughts, and ideas on our Patreon as well. Come subscribe. Come request a movie. Go rate us on Apple Podcasts. We appreciate all the support. Thank you guys very much.
Are you stressed and filled with anxiety like I am? Maybe in a bit of pain from that car accident you had a few years ago? Well, the sponsor of today's episode, Hempville CBD, has us covered. They have the highest quality products created by chemists and doctors. Hempville carries everything from CBD to THC dispensary grade without those despicable dispensary prices. Order your Delta 8, 9 edibles and vapes along with the THCA flower and get free shipping when you spend $50 or more at hempvillecbd.com. Check out the link in the description for more details.
But today we will be talking about Christopher Nolan's year 2000 film, Memento. And I just wanted to start off by saying that I recognize the love for this film. It's put on quite the pedestal. People think it's arguably Christopher Nolan's best film, looked at as a masterpiece. But I'm going to let you in on a little secret. Hearing these kinds of things when I was younger built this image of what good movies are, right? And over the years, seeing Christopher Nolan films and them often being revered, but me saying, you know, they're okay. I built this idea that maybe I don't like movies. I don't like the film medium. If I'm not clicking with films like Memento and The Batmans and Inception. But of course, fast forward in time, I realized that's insane. Christopher Nolan's fanboys are the crazy ones. Because I'm happy to report back, after watching Memento, it's probably the most gimmicky movie I've ever seen, and it's okay. You can clearly see the obsession with using time as a plot device, the non-linearity which we see used in a very similar way in Dunkirk makes a lot more sense here, I will say. I love the idea of memories not being a totally valid form of data or evidence. And of course, I very much like the gimmick of being dropped in different places in the film, having to figure out what's going on just like our character. When the gimmick wears off, it's exhausting and a little kind of get to the pointy, right? But how did you feel about Memento?
I liked it, surprisingly. It kept me engaged. And you're right, you're almost forced to stay engaged throughout the whole entire movie to understand the plot, not even to understand what it's trying to say about memories or time or, you know, all these themes behind the film, but just to understand the plot, you have to stay engaged. Is it manipulative? I don't know. Do I care that I have to stay this engaged? I also don't know. I don't know how I like that. I don't like being exhausted watching my movies unless it's a good kind of exhausted. I don't know, the first movie that comes to mind is The Elephant Man. That movie leaves me exhausted for all the right reasons. I'm with you. I like the gimmick. It's a very unique, structured narrative, and it makes you question people's truths and people's actions. which this movie made me maybe solidify the discovery that I really like films with unreliable characters. Because is Lenny as unreliable as Salieri from Amadeus?
Or Forrest Gump.
Or Forrest Gump. Forrest Gump, that man's full of shit, isn't he?
He is full of shit.
But I love it. I love them. Because I love that everyone in this film is a liar. Everyone. Even our poor, amnesia-ridden protagonist. Is Christopher Nolan a cynic in this movie? Or does he just like the study of the human condition? Specifically with people who suffer from memory loss? I don't know. I do like how moody this movie is. I like all the obvious symbolisms. But the score was meh. The dialogue was rough. The performances were one note. The visuals were visuals of the 2000s. Washed out.
Yeah, it's definitely very 2000s looking movie.
And I wasn't sold whatsoever emotionally on this film.
I don't know what's worse when you're expecting a twist like an M. Night Shyamalan movie and you don't get that delivery, sort of like Trap and a few others.
Sort of. Oh wait, I forgot the twist. Yeah.
Or the twist comes out of finding out the main character is more unreliable than you first even thought. On some level, I like that this is an everlasting story where Lenny is forever forgetting what he did, what he will do. He just knows he's always looking for a John G, a JG kind of character. But how am I supposed to care on any level when we find out that he was Sammy in his stories and he killed his wife, not John G or Jimmy, when he's just going to forget? There's no consequence to this reveal, I guess, outside Teddy losing his life. And we're ultimately building up to that moment. Because we, of course, start with Teddy being killed, right? And then at the very end of the movie, we find out through Teddy that they've already killed another John G. And in fact, Lenny is his wife's killer. It's all just very pointless. And is even taken a step further with Teddy saying that there's always going to be a next John G.
No, I completely agree. Finding out that he already killed John G is supposed to be this oh shit moment. But there was nothing there. And I didn't even think as far as you did with the consequences of that. I only thought this scene gave me nothing as far as exposition. There was no dramatic score. Lenny's expression was dumbfounded, but he looks dumbfounded in the beginning, middle, end, whichever way you want to look at this movie.
Yeah, Lenny's not even the problem, because he can't remember.
Yeah, so there's no expressions coming from him. Newly finding out that he had already killed him, and we're supposed to be experiencing this film through his eyes. And I'm having that oh shit moment. Why is he not having that oh shit moment? We didn't have any emotion as far as camera work, score, even dialogue. The dialogue was just so straightforward. Probably the best thing out of this scene was Teddy, but that's not saying much. Because you're right, and I think the consequences to this are pointless.
Yeah, because how many Teddys have there been? How many John G's? How many Jimmys? It's like, he even says it, like, there's just going to be another John G. It's just like, what?
Yeah, and we already knew at this point, right, that Lenny is a little fucked up as far as he killed his wife. He's not a good person, which is another problem I have, because the whole film I am sympathizing with him. People are just kind of taking advantage of him. All these people are liars, and they even tell him to his face, like, you're not even going to remember what I do to you right now.
Which is kind of funny, yeah.
Yeah, which is kind of funny. I'm going to spit in your cup. I'm going to charge you for 2 hotel rooms. Sure, funny. But then we have this moment where he's no longer someone I sympathize with because he killed his wife. And because at the end he decides, well, you know what? You're my next John G. John G. And I'm going to write myself a note saying, he's a liar because I don't want to believe your truth. So I'm going to target you next. Which, okay. Now we're exploring this idea that truth can be manipulated, which I don't like. I like my traditional movies, my traditional messaging. Truth prevails. Honest Abe. You know, I like these things.
Sure. I actually really enjoy the whole perspective on truth, and my truth isn't necessarily your truth. And we almost had a really cool dynamic between Lenny and Teddy, because obviously Teddy's operating on some complete different level. He's an undercover cop trying to bust some guys. He doesn't completely understand Lenny's problem, obviously. Otherwise, he wouldn't have done half the things he did with Lenny. If he understood how serious his illness is and how obsessed he was.
Yeah, I don't know how the tattoos didn't give it away with how obsessed he was.
Yeah. The tattoos were cool. Cool, visual, nice detail.
Yes. Especially the one you can only see when you look at yourself in a mirror, you know? Whoa. But this movie, I guess on paper, is a really sad fucking story about a man who can't remember. And I don't know if we steered away from that. Because anyone who's known anyone who has suffered or is suffering through some kind of memory problem like amnesia or aphasia or dementia knows how fucking hard it is for you as the family member, friend, or whatever, and the person experiencing those things, how angry they get, how violent they can get, how frustrated they can get, how sad they can get. And I don't get any of that in this movie. And even the scenes where he's thinking about his wife, those were awful. Those shots of his wife laying down in the bed or her smiling or those zoom in on the lips, I don't know. Those didn't give me anything. Those didn't make me think, oh man, this guy was in love or he misses his wife. I'm just being told that he misses his wife. And then we have that weird interaction between him and, I'm assuming, some kind of call girl, prostitute, I don't know what you call it, that he's paying her just to put things around the hotel room or his room. I don't know where I am at this point in the movie. And rearrange them like she had been using them. Just so he can wake up thinking, my wife's still alive.
Yeah, almost a hint at something being under the hood with Lenny. Yeah, he was in control of his situation a little too much.
Which, that kind of gets explained in a bullshit way. Just telling us that he's conditioned himself to be in this much control. But I don't buy it. Especially with the Sammy story, because he's supposed to be Sammy, I think. I'm not quite sure convinced on that yet. And Sammy doesn't manage to condition himself like Lenny thought he should. So did his conditioning even work? I don't know. Why is he in so much control? I guess tattoos do help. They're permanent. You can't lose those. And the pictures help, right? You have a visual representation of who someone is, but then you get to the notes that are from himself, and then those become completely unreliable, although the picture is reliable.
Yes, and it doesn't take a genius to understand that first impressions, let alone many first impressions, are completely unreliable. Think about all the different opinions you'd have of an individual if every time you met them was the first time.
Oh, yeah, a million. It all depends on situation, what mood they're in, what mood you're in, where they're at.
You would drive yourself insane,
Yeah.
Right? He didn't have amnesia, short-term memory loss all his life, right? He's got memories before his wife died, supposedly. He's a grown man. He's gone through some life experience. He's had friends and family, more than likely. He's had many experiences with these people. You'd think he would be at this point in his life with just something like short-term memory loss would be socially aware enough to understand that you would need many entries to better understand these people around you. Because I get he's obsessed, he wants to get to the root of his killer and stuff, yada yada. That's fine, we can still be on this mission, but I guess for one, he should have many entries of Teddy and Natalie and the rest, not just a line on a photograph, right? Am I crazy on that?
No, completely agree. And then he crosses off something he wrote about Natalie. Like, where's your good documentation practice? Write a line through it so you can still read what you previously wrote and say, like, you know what? Which one did I mean? And now you're suspicious.
And it's especially crazy because he has all this documentation of God knows what, finding these people. I don't know.
Yeah.
He's Bibles of this stuff, but he's just got this very limited information on these individuals, right? Why does his obsession stop there?
True. That's very true.
I'm totally with you on the point of where is the primal frustration of going through this constantly. He's aware he has short-term memory loss.
Yeah, he tells
everyone.
Yeah, that's the first thing he says.
Which is funny. I like that keeps coming back to that point and people are like,
you've told me.
It's fun, but it doesn't go anywhere. My mind goes to The Father with Anthony Hopkins. It's a different movie, but the frustration that man feels is awesome. Of course, not every short-term memory loss movie needs to be super sad, but Lenny was way too sterile, had way too much control on his situation, neglected everything fundamental to the plot of the movie. He has all this history and baggage to bring with him to make the obsession rooted and, give us momentum for the movie. But when we get to the point of the movie, it's like he forgot that he was obsessed.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Does he have to retell himself he's obsessed? Does he have a I'm obsessed tattoo somewhere? And see, my mind goes to Dory from Finding Nemo. And yes, it's a little bit more childlike, but Dory is in no control whatsoever of her situation that she gets into so much trouble. She's not frustrated she's not frustrated like Anthony Hopkins' character. And I mean, this guy's not frustrated. He just looks confused. I don't know.
He's just like, what am I doing? I guess he's kind of like Biden.
Oh no, you went there. Is he glitching?
Where's the ice cream?
Where's the ice cream? But yeah, Dory is in no control of the situation, and we see how fucking frustrated Marlon gets with her. He's just done. He doesn't want to do this anymore. He's exhausted. So it's more from the lens of that family member or friend or whatever, but nothing here.
Now, I will reiterate, I like the gimmick a lot. I dare say love, at least in the beginning, when you're trying to figure out what's going on with Lenny. It's a very fun experience, unlike anything else, but it is kind of a roller coaster-esque thing where you probably either love it and, you're probably going to love Christopher Nolan for the rest of your life, or it's a one and done thing. You lived it. You don't got to do it ever again.
Right. It does a good enough job that you don't get lost, as long as you're paying attention, of course, but you don't get lost to what is going on, what's happening. But it also feels like it might be one of those movies that you have to rewatch to love it.
Maybe, and I believe Christopher Nolan is a big mark of that, in fact, where he sets out to create movies that demand to be watched more than once. But I don't have short-term memory loss, not yet, and first impressions are something.
But I think that rewatch would help you determine whether it was a gimmick and you're over it, or you like the gimmick so much you like seeing these Easter eggs, so-called, to make you appreciate it even more.
I think I saw this movie twice while we were watching it. Because about halfway I was done with the gimmick.
Damn.
Because it's kind of like what you said in the beginning. We have this unreliable character. really sort of a narrator, because we kind of live in the mind of Lenny, and take something like Amadeus, where we have this story of Salieri being in love and jealous and full of hate towards Mozart, but there's a warped perspective there that is also motivated by that exact experience that makes him frustrated,
Yeah.
especially in retrospect, probably.
Yeah.
Because that's one of the fun things about Amadeus, is that it's being told by memory.
While he's at a psych ward.
While he's at a psych ward, yeah. You can't forget about that. It's so funny. But here with Lenny, with our unreliable character, our warped perspective, is us just constantly trying to root ourselves time and time again. And really, kind of like what you said, just wait to be told how this fits together.
Yeah.
Which I get having to be told, because otherwise this may be a little hard to pull off, this kind of narrative structure. I get that. Of course, we see that constantly through Christopher Nolan. He likes to tell us exactly what's happening in all of his movies. But to what end?
And with a medium like film, you have to take advantage of the visual aspect of it. Not just the narrator, the characters telling us what is going on or what to expect. Because I like that every sequence, he's waking up confused as fuck. And now you have to figure out what's going on. But then, towards the end of that sequence, it's explained why this is important. But you can kind of understand it without having to be told if you just show it a little bit better. Because of movies like Amadeus, it's possible to show us, not tell us, what is going on.
It's almost like him writing the thing on the photographs was this punctuation of, this is important, and I guess almost has that solo energy of, oh, that's how he came to that conclusion about Natalie. That's how he came to that conclusion about Teddy. That's how Han Solo got his dice. That's how Han Solo met the Wookiee.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. It's just like...
Yeah, and it makes the dialogue seem so monotonous and precise. Like a robotic kind of precision. It's not very flowy or natural. But again, we don't have a flowy or natural character, so I don't know how to feel about it. But Anthony Hopkins in The Father didn't sound like this. And his interactions with people didn't sound like this.
Yeah, it's kind of like what you were saying earlier, where each of these characters are trying to get something out of Lenny. They're kind of each in control of their own story, or so it seems. Natalie turned out to be largely pointless.
Pretty much. The main reason she's in the movie is to let us know that people are terrible. And to let us know that he killed someone that somebody else loves, Jimmy. To make us, the audience, have that aha moment when we know who Jimmy finally is. Or that he's wearing Jimmy's suit. Or that he's using Jimmy's car. To make us feel smarter, I guess? Is that Natalie's point? But other than that, I don't see a point. Is she the McMuffin? Because really, all she does is give us the license plate number that belonged to Teddy, the other John G that he's now after, I guess. And I guess also in the scene where Lenny punches the shit out of her was a turning point for me as far as Lenny's character. That's when I no longer felt sorry for him, and it turned into, oh shit, this guy is potentially not a good person. I guess she had to be a girl to make it have that impact. You know, a guy punching a girl just automatically looks worse.
Sure. Does it invalidate his story about Sammy and Sammy's wife, which turned out to be him and his wife, and he accidentally kills his wife with insulin? Does it put that story into question of credibility?
Well, anything Lenny says and does, by the end of the film, I don't believe or trust whatsoever. Him making up this story about Sammy and it really being him, it's weird. It's weird for me to grasp, first of all. But okay, I'll go along with it. But at the end of the film, when he writes on Teddy's photograph, he's a liar, don't trust him, and he only wrote that because Teddy told him the truth. You already killed your John G. And Lenny doesn't want to believe that. Lenny doesn't want to believe that he's already killed him and he didn't even know. So he's going to manipulate himself. And then on top of that, he makes another statement saying, well, you know what, motherfucker? Now you're my John G. And now I'm coming after you, bitch. It's like, whoa, Lenny, what? So everything he has said is out the window. Everything he has done is out the window.
He sort of has this like nihilistic character energy where we've talked about where you have these characters that just don't care, have no effect on one thing or another. People have no effect on them. It just makes him super uninteresting and pointless.
Right.
He's at the mercy of his condition, but it makes him super irrelevant to a greater story.
Right, because Chris should have given us something to make us sympathize with this character. Anything. Because at the point where Teddy tells him, your wife had diabetes, he's like, my wife didn't have diabetes. But he's supposed to remember shit before the accident. Like, what?
Yeah, and we don't get anything on the manipulation of memories. We get little hints and drabs at it about them being unreliable. And even the remembering of them is nothing but an interpretation. But I don't know, the movie's so obsessed with the gimmick itself that it forgets Lenny has a brain. And he is thinking. He has this kind of philosophical insight on his condition and just the human condition of remembering. But the movie just forgets to go anywhere outside of its gimmick.
Yeah, to me, it's like the movie went to Lenny as a bad guy. And I don't like that.
I don't like that either because it's not justified in any way because he's completely out of control. We obsess over his control to a superhero degree, but the reality of the situation is that he's completely out of control.
I do like this black and white approach with the story that's actually moving linearly. It helps the audience distinguish between not only the past and present, but where Lenny's mental state is at. He gets a little frustrated on the phone with whomever he's talking to, but we don't get enough of that to fully capture that frustration. We get the gimmicky story. But I always appreciate it when a director gives me obvious things like that, like Lenny's scars too. They get pinker and fleshier towards the end of the film, which is the beginning of the story.
I like the marks too because it indicates that this is happening over the course of a few days, a week maybe.
Yeah, with how it's healing. Yeah, that's a good point. My favorite scene by far is when he's running and he says, okay, I'm chasing this guy. And then the guy turns around. He's like, oh, wait, he's chasing me.
That was really good. Yeah.
That was good. That was awesome.
That may have been my favorite scene too, just because we were at the point in the gimmick that we knew we quickly needed to find our bearings, and he found his really fast because this guy was chasing him. So it was like, oh shit, yeah, we're not chasing this guy, he's chasing us.
And it was unexpectedly funny because this is not a funny movie. And his films tend to not be funny. They take themselves a little bit too seriously.
Christopher Nolan is not funny.
So this caught me off guard.
Yeah.
I was like, oh man, this is hilarious. I don't have much to say about the introduction of the movie. It was a 2000s film introduction. They're not that great. But I did see that the photograph that he was shaking was developing backwards. I didn't catch that in the film. I just thought something weird was going on. Not sure what was happening. So it left me a little bit confused. Because I feel like this introduction is crucial. It's what sets this movie up. But it didn't to me. And I'm not sure why it failed.
I mean, I feel you. And it probably comes back to the point of this movie feeling pointless. Because we're handed first 5 minutes, the very end of the film, in this very jarring way. It's played in reverse. We have this man being executed. It's bizarre.
Right, most films are spent the entire runtime figuring out together with the audience who done it.
And I will say the movie sticks with exactly that point, the what went wrong with Lenny and Teddy, because we probably see Teddy more than any other character outside of Lenny. We see Lenny executing Teddy in the very beginning, so it's just like, what happened? And then the movie ends with showing us exactly what happened in the most hand-holdy way. And there was also never a setup for a plot because we had to constantly find our bearings, right? So, unlike something like Amadeus, where Salieri is telling the tale of meeting Mozart and being displaced and then living in his shadow, and then at the same time falling in love with his craft, Christopher Nolan here never gets the chance to show us or tell us with Lenny what he's feeling at all, like you said.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, the biggest problem with this movie is the gimmick that the movie relies on can't get out of its own way.
Yeah, there's no point to the gimmick. There's no point to the plot twists. What does it all mean? What are you trying to tell me, Chris? What are you trying to tell me, Christopher? That I should be scared of people with amnesia? Fuck sticky notes? Tattoos are the best way to remember? Or should I look at myself in a mirror more often? I don't have much to say about any of the sets. There weren't a lot of costumes here. Not a lot of props. But why was that car dusty as fuck?
That was weird.
That was weird. Is that just to let us know that it was somewhere dusty? Like that weird warehouse location he took him to kill him in?
I mean, maybe. Maybe the movie takes place in Texas. I'm not really sure.
But his truck that he left there wasn't even dusty. Just that car.
And based on the order of operations, that truck was only there for probably a day or two.
That's true.
Not that that matters, but visually, it's striking. The dusty car.
Yeah.
It's concerning. So maybe that's part of the point, is we're supposed to be very unsettled by this dusty car. Maybe there's some kind of visual language he's trying to communicate with. I'm not sure, but I feel you. It's the first thing I noticed, and I stared at it the whole movie.
I didn't even think, why am I focusing on this car? Like in that movie, like in Blue Ruin, where you stare at the car and it's so symbolic to Dwight and Dwight's trauma. So staring at that car makes sense. And the bullet holes and the whatnots.
Totally.
Yeah.
Well, man, thank you for watching this movie with me and talking about it here today.
Yeah, man, no problem.
Do you have a budget guess for me?
My budget guess is 20 mil? I don't know. This was hard to place. Christopher Nolan feels like someone that spends money, but I don't know how early this is in his career.
This is his first major feature film and his second feature film. At this point, he made an indie film called Following right before this.
Okay, so maybe I would lower that 20 a little bit, but I'll stick to it for now.
Well, it says here that it was 5 to 9 million.
Oh, shit. Okay. I should have lowered it.
And it went on to make 40.1 million. So.
Okay, not bad. Because I'm just thinking of a movie like Dunkirk and it was 100 million.
Yeah, I wonder at what point in time, which movie it was where the studios were like, the production companies, distributors were like, we're going to give this man $100 million to make movies forever and ever.
Yeah, and even something crazier, Inception was 160 mil in 2010.
Well, over on Letterboxd with 1.61 million, they weighed in at 4.2.
No, get out of here. I understand this very, very unique narrative structure. I do. I like it. It's definitely one of a kind. The unreliable character is also one of a kind. I do love that. But that's all this movie has going for it. And I'm sorry, but it's a movie. Your visuals have to be killing it. Your dialogue has to be killing it. Your score has to be killing it for you to at least crawl up there in the fours.
The setup and payoff to some degree.
Yeah, to some degree.
Yeah, there's so many parts of the equation that are completely missing from this movie. I don't know in what world Memento is a 4.2 out of 5.
Yeah, that's crazy. Is it one of those films that, because of its time,
I don't know if it's a time and place movie. Maybe.
with that box office, something tells me no.
In my time on this planet, I have noticed a very strong militia of Christopher Nolan fans. There is something about him and his work that is deeply attractive to so many people. And I've yet to click with him, that's for sure.
That's true. I've seen maybe half of his films. I haven't clicked with one that I think it's phenomenal, that I think it's outstanding. I like Dunkirk quite a bit.
I like Dunkirk too. I wish it was told in a sensible way.
I like that perspective switch, but solely on the purpose of a perspective switch doesn't make sense. But I guess I like knowing what different characters are doing at whatever point that will converge at one point. Because here, it makes sense, but we do nothing with it. I'm giving this movie a 2, but I'm leaning 1.5. I haven't decided if the gimmick is worth that 2.
Wow, a 2. All right.
And it didn't bore me.
That's an important part of the movie watching experience.
Yes,
of course.
yes. I wasn't itching to turn it off. So maybe that's why I'm leaning towards a 2.
Yeah, I'm not sure what I'm going to give this, but I was leaning towards a 2.5. And that equation might be weighted by the experience more than my appreciation for the film, but I'm going to have to sit on Memento for the weeks to come. Definitely no higher than a 2.5, no lower than a 2 for me, though. But yeah, man, thank you for talking about this movie here today, and thank you guys for listening to this episode of The Filmistines. I hope you guys enjoyed that one. Remember, we post every Monday and Friday with brand new episodes of The Filmistines on all of our free feeds, and every other Wednesday on patreon.com/Filmistines for Patreon exclusive episodes. Our next episode will be on Christopher Nolan's Insomnia with Al Pacino and Robin Williams.
I guess we're on a Chris Nolan kick, huh?
I think we're headed towards a Christopher Nolan series, so get ready. Strap in.
I'm ready.
Please look forward to that, though, and remember to leave nice comments, thoughts, and ideas on our Patreon as well. Come subscribe. Rate us on Apple Podcasts. We appreciate all the support. Thank you guys very much. But until next time, take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
And that's a wrap for today's episode of The Filmistines. Thanks for tuning in and joining us on our cinematic journey. We hope you enjoyed the discussion and gained some new insights and perspectives on the world of movies. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast on your favorite platform, especially Patreon at patreon.com/Filmistines. And follow us on social media for more film-related content. We love hearing from our listeners, so if you have any feedback, suggestions, movie recommendations, or book recommendations, please feel free to reach out to us. Until next time, keep watching and keep loving the magic of movies. This is The Filmistines, signing off.